Hey everybody, what's up? It's Dean Schneider with Into the Overhead. As you can see, Josh is in here again. What else is new? As you have seen in the updates, we've got a bunch of stuff going on that's keeping us both very busy lately in life, and we're really pushing hard to get this documentary done, but we strive to put out original content. We don't like to do react videos. We don't like to do stuff that everybody else is doing. Something that I think is super important in the life of a scuba diver, they don't really think much of it other than bringing it in to get done every once in a while, is having your tanks hydrostatically tested. As you all may or may not know, it's supposed to be done once every 5 years, with a visual inspection being done once a year. We happen to have, right here in Mariana, where Scuba Techie is located, we happen to have a hydrostatic testing facility right in town called Fire Extinguisher. They are awesome. They usually do hydros within a 24 to 48 hour period at most. I've heard horror stories of people waiting 30 to 60 days plus, and then still spending an exorbitant amount of money, which is crazy. Sean, guy's name is Sean Collins, that owns Star Fire Extinguisher. Awesome dude. They've got trucks that run around and do pickups and drop-offs. Great pricing. Really excellent turnaround time on their hydro tests. And he has agreed to not only, get with us and do like a Q&A or anything, but he actually agreed to let us come in and film the entire hydro process. So without any further ado, let's cut straight to it. We're going to go and watch the entire process from start to finish. From when they get there in the morning, they've got to test their stuff every single day as mandated by the DOT, the Department of Transportation. They have to define every morning that their equipment is within the DOT mandated specs in order to be able to not only successfully, but also properly and accurately test cylinders for customers. So we're about to head out there now and film that whole process, and we'll include this as an entire episode. So like I said before, without further ado, let's get on that.
Okay guys, good morning. My name is Sean, and I'm the owner here at Star Fire Extinguisher, and we're gonna go through a hydro testing process for you today. We're a local dealer here in the Mariana, Florida area. We're up in North Florida in the Panhandle, and we are a fire extinguisher company, restaurant suppression systems, and we also do high pressure hydro testing in the area. We perform hydro testing for a number of people, fire departments, scuba dive shops, oxygen, acetylene, medical oxygen tanks. So we provide for a lot of wide range of those cylinders. Now, our typical day when we're hydro testing typically starts like this. We come in, we usually get here 6 o'clock in the morning. If we have any tanks that we're hydro testing that day, we survey those tanks, make sure one that we can, either by date, manufacturer, we determine what pressure we're going to be testing those tanks at, and then that way we know what pressure to certify our system to that day. DOT requires us to certify high pressure within a 500 PSI range for the day for the highest bottle that we're going to test. So our process with that is, when we bought our system, it comes with a calibrated cylinder. This cylinder has a calibration sheet that we test by. And so what we do is we'll put this bottle inside, and we'll go ahead and drop this bottle down in our sleeve. So you'll notice water came out. So typically our sleeve remains full of water. We never drain it. And when in the hydro test process, we don't want any air. Air is not our friend. Air can compress, and we don't want that. We want only water. So water is what we're after. So I'm gonna quick connect our water pressure line, and then I'm gonna lock our lid down. And so now our next process will be to evacuate all the air. One, we're gonna evacuate all the air out of the sleeve. And then two, we're gonna evacuate all the air out of the test cylinder that we just put in there. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now. And another thing I'm gonna show you, these are our barrettes. This is where we read our total expansion and our retraction. So this is where we get all of our information from, how the bottle's doing. Excuse me. Our gauges, we'll be using a high pressure gauge of 0 to 11,000. Sorry. But today we're going to be testing some bottles that are going to take us up to the 3,000 to 5,000 PSI range. So we're going to run our test up to 5,000 PSI today. So what we're going to do is go ahead and evacuate all of our water. So here we're going to do that. That's all the water evacuated out of the sleeve. Now we're going to evacuate all the water out of our test cylinder. Okay. Sir? Yeah, we're going to evacuate all the air out of our test sleeve, sorry. And then we're going to bring our barrette that we're going to test our cylinder by, we're going to bring it back to 0. Okay. So this is, we're going to be using this big barrette for the test this morning on our calibrated sleeve, calibrated cylinder. So we're going to bring that back to a true 0. We're going to put the bottom of our bubble on 0. And we're going to set and watch it for a minute. Make sure we're not having any problems in our sleeve. We're not rising with water or pressure or anything like that. So we're good to go. So now we'll go ahead and we're going to go to 3,000, 4,000, and 5,000. And we're going to read our numbers, and we're going to make sure they match our certified calibrated sleeve certificate. And if we match, and then we're going to relax the system, and when it comes back to 0, we know our system is good to test customer bottles that day. So DOT requires us to do this test every morning before testing any customer cylinders. So we're at 0, so we're going to go to 3,000. Okay, so now we're at 3,000. So now we're going to bring this slide down, and we're going to read our numbers here and make sure they match our numbers here, which we're good. So now we're going to move up to 4,000. Now we're up to 4,000. We're going to do again a verification check to the pressure. 4,000. Our pressure is matching. We're good. We're going to go to 5,000. Okay. At this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and lock my water and my pressure off because this is the highest test I'm going to do today. So 5,000 PSI, we're going to look at our numbers. Our numbers are matching. Numbers are matching. Now we're going to relax the system. This valve here will let the pressure that we've added to that bottle, let it relax. You'll see our pressure in our gauge coming down, and this will relax back to 0, and then we'll slide back up, and we should relax back to 0. And we have done that. And we're back to 0, so we're good to test for today. And we'll go over to our software, and we'll input all that data. So all that data will be input in our software so that when we do our printout after all the testing is done, we can show that we did our pre-test, and then all of our test after that was completed with our cylinders and our system calibrated. So now we'll remove our cylinder. So whenever we have water rise in these barrettes and we're putting pressure into that cylinder, we are not compressing water. Water doesn't compress, so we're actually stretching the steel, we're stretching the aluminum. And that is actually pushing water out of a line in the bottom, and then we read that stretch. So this water that's coming out of there is because the bottle is expanding. It's not because we're compressing anything, we're actually stretching the cylinder. And that's what we're looking for, because a lot of bottles go through a lot of fuel cycles, a lot of heat, a lot of over their lifetime, and we're looking for that brittleness. We're looking for expansion and a retraction within a certain percentage. If it stays expanded when we retract, then it fails. And we can read that through our barrettes. So, okay, so we'll take this out and we'll get ready to do our first customer test for the day. So our service area covers 2 large states. So we cover from here in the North Panhandle, we do go all the way down to below Gainesville, which is about 4 hours, 4.5 hours. And then we cover over to Pensacola, which is about we do go into Mobile some. So we're about 2.5 hours to our west. And to our north, we go as far as about 3 or 4 hours north up in towards Troy and Montgomery. So as far as how many counties are in those areas, I would say 30 or 40 or even more. We do everything from fire extinguishers to emergency lights, repair and maintenance. Anything a fire inspector is going to pick on, we're going to try to head that off at the pass. We're going to get those things fixed. We're a full recharge shop and low pressure hydro shop for fire extinguishers too. We do tons of low pressure hydros for fire extinguishers, and then we do kitchen suppression systems, which are we custom build those. We go on site, we pull out a pipe threader, we build them on our CAD system, we go out and install them and protect commercial cooking equipment, so with fire systems. So we do a lot of that. We're still not into the fire alarm system or the overhead sprinkler systems, but we feel like you can only do so many things well, and we feel like we're kind of maxed out with the things that we can do well. There's other things we could do, but if we can't do them well, I choose not to do them. Okay, so we finished calibrating our system for the morning test. So we know that our numbers are perfect on our barrette and our sleeve. Everything is acting right this morning, so we're ready to test customers' bottles. So we have a customer's bottle here, and this is an aluminum 3000 PSI cylinder. So data collection is real important when we go to the customer's bottle. So we're going to collect the DOT information off of here, the size, type, the serial number, the manufacturer date, and the type of use the bottle is in, whether it's a CO2, oxygen, acetylene, et cetera, et cetera. So we've collected all that data. Another thing we have to do, we have to measure it. We have to put that in our software. So we do a measurement of the bottle. We have that done so that if we ever have an incident with this bottle in the field, the information where we tested it is in there. They can come all the way back to our database and see the hydro test, see what happened during that testing period. What was the expansion? What was the retraction? So when they're doing their investigation, they can see that there was proof that the bottle was tested. So this is what would happen if you had a bottle that was never tested and you had a buddy that kept filling it and then you had an incident. Then they can definitely tell that the bottle was never hydro tested, and they can't track it back to any tester. So once we get ready to test the bottle, we make sure there's no dings or dents or rust, no bands. We try to remove all stickers that we can, so we can really get a good look at that cylinder. You never know what may be hiding behind a big sticker. So once we've done that, everything on the outside it looks good. So we're going to put it down in our vise. This is an air vise. It helps us hold our bottle really well when we're torquing our fittings in and getting ready to send it in for test. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go and do a thread inspection. I have my thread light here. So what we do is just insert this, and we actually turn this it goes 360 degrees around. And what we're looking for is any cracks in the neck. Now we'll do this inspection before and after the hydro test, because the hydro test puts a lot of pressure on this bottle. So we're stretching it. And the neck goes through a lot of that pressure. So we're gonna inspect it before and after for cracks, vertical cracks up through the neck. The next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go internally with our LED light. We're gonna drop it in, and we're gonna be looking for any rust deposits, any foreign objects. I could stand here and give you about a dozen examples of things I found inside of a scuba tank. Don't know how it gets there. It's just there. A lot of mud, a lot of rust, a lot of water. And I would suspect it's probably from letting it run all the way down while you're diving and then trying to get your gear out of the water, and it's probably getting a little bit in there. So try to leave a little bit in there, try to keep that moisture out of your cylinders. Aluminums, they're pretty good about not rusting, but your steels, you get a little bit of water in there and they come in and they're really nasty. So once that's done, we got the data collected, we know the size, we know the type, we know the manufacturer, month and year. Threads look good, internals look good. Now what we would do, we would actually go and we're gonna fill it full of water. Remember I was telling you that we have to fill it full of water. We can't compress, we can't have air in here. We want to be pushing on that water so that we can stretch the aluminum or the steel of the type of bottle that we're testing that day. So this isn't high test regular that we're putting in here today, but it is straight tap water, filtered back over behind our machine. So any type of water that's entering your bottle is very clean water. You don't get muddy water from us or any type of nastiness going in and out of your bottle. So we're gonna take and get this all the way to the top. So we don't have any air in it to begin with. Then we put our test fitting in the top that goes with this bottle. Yes, so we remember we evacuate all the air out of the bottle while we're testing, because air will compress, water will not. So once we put that pressure on that water and there's no compression happening there, it starts to expand that bottle. And then that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that expansion and that retraction, because we're trying to test really the brittleness of the bottle. They go through a lot of heat fields, a lot of fields where they're getting a lot of hot, getting real hot and then cooling down. Some people fill them in water, some people don't. But when they go through those cycles, I think the CFR 49 manual says if it goes through a lifespan of a certain number of cycles, it's no good anymore. It's time to take it out of service. So that's what we're checking for. We want to make sure that when we expand it and hold it for 30 seconds, and then let the pressure off and go back, we want to make sure it retracts. These are required to retract back to less than 10% of its total expansion. So that's what we're looking for. That's the data we're gathering while we're testing. All right, I'm going to lock my vise. We're going to torque in our fitting. All right. Now we're going to bring over our lid. And here we go. So this just assists me with getting the bottle over into the test sleeve. So we'll fly it over here. And you'll see some water come out of my test sleeve. So remember, we have all the water evacuated out of, or air evacuated out of the bottle. So now we're gonna drop it in our sleeve, and then we're gonna evacuate all the air that may be left in our sleeve before we test. So there we go. We are locked in. So this line that I'm putting on here has water and pressure. This is where our pressure comes in with water also. So now we're gonna lock our lid. So our air lockers will lock down the lid, and this will actually hold our pressure. So really there's not a lot of pressure that goes outside of the bottle in our sleeve. because we just want to hold that water tight so that when it stretches, there's a line in the bottom so it can push a little bit of water out and it'll push it up our barrettes, so that we can read that total expansion and that total retraction. So then we would go ahead and put our pressure on this bottle and bring it up to test pressure, hold it for 30 seconds. And what we're doing, we're looking for anything running away, an abnormal pressure, anything that's going on in the barrette. We're going to bring that pressure up and let it settle down after 30 seconds. Once it settles down, we'll bring it back down close, bring the pressure back off the bottle, and then we'll read that percentage. And if it returns within less than 10% of its total expansion, we'll bring the bottle back out. We'll do that. The bottle comes back out. The bottle goes back in the vise. Fitting comes out. We drain the water out, and then we take it and put it on a dryer. The bottle's dried for about 30 to 45 minutes. The bottle comes back in for another internal external inspection, thread inspection. So this is the point in where your hydro testing guys are great VIP guys. They've been all over this bottle, external, internal, threads, everything. So at that point in time, the annual VIP has also been completed, really. So they could actually, after the hydro test, go ahead and apply their sticker if they're VIP certified, and go ahead and apply their sticker and send that thing out hydroed with a VIP, ready to go dive.
Wow. So I don't know what you guys thought, but I thought that was just super cool to watch. I've seen it before. I've seen it several times because they're right here, but every time I go there, I learn something new, something different, different size tank, different process for different types of tanks. And it's generally the same for most tanks, but depending on the pressures and type of tanks and alloys and everything, things may vary and change, a tiny bit, but the general process is the same. Super cool of Sean to do this for us, and also obviously for you guys, so you guys get to see it. Not too many regular everyday divers may not even have an interest, and if that's the case, that's fine. Then you probably didn't even watch the whole episode. But it's interesting. It's cool to see how the tests are done every 5 years on cylinders, or 10 if they have a plus rating, or different types of tanks, like the bank bottles that shops use to fill and bank their gas. Sometimes they have a 10-year hydro. We just got a few ASMEs, which never require hydro. Significantly larger tanks, not flat bottom. They're actually laying horizontal in a rack. And we'll post a picture of those so you guys can see what they're all about. And they don't ever require hydro, which is great for a shop, because then you're not every few years, however often it may be, need to take part of your bank and take it out of commission and get the tanks tested and then bring them back again. So I found that very attractive when I went and bought these ASME tanks, because they are not cheap. They are actually fairly expensive. But it's worth it if you never have to take your bank system offline or reduce its size in order to get bottles tested. But again, super cool of Sean to do that for us. He's got a couple of guys that work with him, and they really do dare I say, a bang-up job, but they do quality work. Real fast. Turnaround time is just, in my opinion, second to none. I've never seen anybody turn around hydros any faster than these guys. And very cost effective. So if you guys are ever in town, they're right here. Bring it by Scuba Techie. We're happy to help facilitate, drop off and pick up. And they have to be usually VIP'd anyway and then filled, so we can help with that as well. So again, thanks for joining us on Into the Overhead. Maybe next time Josh will be with us, and don't forget to dive as if, guys.